And we
Yeah,
are live.
we are live. We are live.
Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to another great Thursday with the Millionaire Ladies Mob. We are here tonight to discuss retirement.
Yeah.
With us this evening, we have myself, Shalonda Kaiser Mitchell, the money queen. You can find me at ShalondaKaiserMitchell.com and all of the social media networks. Miss Carmen, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us again tonight. And even if you're not joining us live, whenever you come in and look at it, hit replay, hashtag replay. We are live tonight on Facebook, on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook channel. We're also on Clubhouse. Okay. I am Carmen K. Bernard. You can reach me at carmen10k.com. There you will find everything you need to know about me. I help to protect income. I help to eliminate debt within 9 years or less. I help to create an income stream that you cannot outlive in retirement, which is what we're talking about tonight, retirement. And finally, create a legacy of generational wealth. And I'm happy to be here tonight. I'm really excited about the discussion. And I pass the mic.
I guess that means the mic is passed to me. I am Saran Baker. I am so excited to be here. I'm your debt elimination queen, and I help people with student loan debt, mortgage debt, car loan debt, you name it. My favorite thing to do is just help people find the money they didn't know they had. You can find me at saran10k.com or Covered by Saran on Facebook and Instagram. And you can also find me on YouTube at Saran Baker. You can find me dropping videos about information. And you can also find me with these beautiful ladies tonight, the Millionaire Ladies Mob, on YouTube as well, and on Facebook and Instagram. And we are there every day with content and information. And we're super excited to have you. And if we haven't already told you, you can email all of us at one time by emailing millionaireladiesmob@gmail.com and say, I want to talk to Saran, I want to talk to Shalonda, I want to talk to Carmen, or I want to talk to Aaliyah, who our healthcare queen is not here today. So we are ready to talk to you about ramen or riches. Now, we got one person on here who actually loves ramen, and one who is like, I'll never eat ramen ever again in my life for any reason under any circumstance. So we had to kind of fight about the title, but we went with it anyway. So we're excited to be here. So let's get going.
Yay, ramen and riches. I love it. I love it.
So, does that mean if you're rich, you shouldn't eat ramen?
I mean, it's your
What?
business what you eat when you're rich.
Because think about it though, like ramen has become expensive. When I was a kid, it was like 12 cents.
Yeah.
What is it
It's
like
like
now?
28 cents a pack now.
Oh, darn. There's
Oh man,
for you.
inflation.
And if
We'll
you go
talk
to
about
one of,
that soon. Inflation on the ramen. Good.
you
night.
better come back next Thursday if you want to hear about some inflation, right?
That's inflation. But listen, I did not know that there was actually a big discussion going on about ramen right now. Apparently, Kylie Jenner has done a video, a TikTok or something saying how she does ramen. And so there's people all up in arms about doing this ramen, and then there's black people going like, "What are y'all
We've been
talking
doing that
about?
forever.
We've been doing that all the time. This ain't nothing new."
I was putting eggs and cheese in my ramen since I was small enough to even. I had to used to pull up the little step stool. Oh, I still got to pull up a step stool. But I used to pull up a step stool to the microwave, and my mom used to be like, "Y'all better not be cooking on my stove."
Yeah, listen. Let me welcome to the Millionaire Ladies Mob. I'm welcoming the people on Clubhouse. I see Jeanette has joined us. Welcome, Queen Jeanette. This is our first day on Clubhouse in this particular room doing this particular topic that we're going to be talking about ramen and riches in retirement. But so thanks for joining. We're definitely.
I'm glad you stopped and welcomed her, Carmen. Could you imagine if she jumped in and just heard a conversation about ramen?
Right. Like what in the world are they talking about? So, but we really want to know, right? Are you going to be eating ramen by choice, or are you going to be eating ramen because you have to in retirement?
Right.
So that's the thing. It's not if you should or if you can't, or it's about what options do you have in retirement. And so that's what we want to talk about. And whether you are 20, 30, 40, 50, or already in retirement, 60 or 70, this is a great conversation for you to be in on.
And that's a perfect place to start, because when I sit down with clients each day to help them with their planning for retirement, that's the first thing that some of them say. Well, aren't I too young to start planning for retirement? No, actually you're not, because the earlier you get a jump on it, the better your nest eggs can look, right?
Yeah.
And that, I think that's what's important, is thinking that just because people are young that we shouldn't have the retirement conversation with them, right? And that's not true at all. We need to be having the retirement conversation with everyone, because we never know what our money is going to look like in retirement. What do you think that the number one fear of people who are already in retirement, what do you think that their fear is?
Well, I know for sure that is running out of money.
It is.
People are not scared of dying. They're scared of living and not being able to live in dignity.
Exactly.
And the dignity part is important, because a lot of them are like, they don't want to be dependent on government or nonprofits or their family or all these other different programs. They want to be self-sufficient.
You're right, Saran. And it is a big thing, because what we find is that people at that age have, and where we say age, I'm speaking at this moment of people already in retirement. So in retirement age 65 and above, not to X out those people that get retirement early, like 62, but one of the things that they have so much pride that they don't want to ask for help. So that's where you find people that are sitting in their homes and they don't have much food because their bills cost too much, and they would rather cut back on food, or they don't get the medicines that they need because they didn't save enough in retirement. And so it's not just about your retirement monies, and to make sure that you have a lot of retirement monies. It's what things are you going to need in retirement,
Right.
You may still have that mortgage, or you may have rent. You still have to concentrate on healthy eating, healthy living, having enough money for your medicines, or your doctor's visits. Just because you get Medicare or Medicaid doesn't necessarily mean that everything is no cost to you.
Right. And just to jump in here, the thing too, when you start thinking about it, for me, if I said, I don't want to have to, and this is no disrespect to the job, right? I don't want to have to be a Walmart greeter. I don't want to have to be, working when I should be retirement. I don't want to have to be buying dog food. I mean, and I know that's probably not a thing now, but I don't want to have to stand in a food line to get food, the nourishment, because maybe I'm paying a lot for medication, or maybe my money ran out, or, I retired, but I lived way too long, right? And you thought you planned it. And one of the things I was thinking as I was driving to the location I'm in right now is, one of the things we don't think about, and I'll just jump out here and say, in the African-American community, our melanated brothers and sisters, we don't think about preparing for our children's retirement also. We don't think about, while we're planning for ours, planning, you know what, how do we put some dollars and some ducats on the side, as my dad would say, ducats, put some bucks on the side to say, you know what, I got a 1-year-old. Not only am I going to plan for their college, but I'm going to find a way to strategically start putting money aside or set things up so that I also can add to their retirement. Because when we start talking about money, we talk about the time value of money or compound
Right.
interest or the rule of 72. And so the
Yeah.
longer you have that money marinate,
Working
if you
for
will,
you.
marinating,
Mm-hmm.
is the more money, the longer the money is, you know, and that's another piece of the generational wealth conversation that we have. We're not talking about, all right, not only am I planning for little Mikey or little Susie's college, but I'm trying to make sure I also have another bucket that's going to help them boost their retirement, because they don't have the time that I have because I've been living longer than them. And that's just an aside, and it's an alternate view, and it's something that many may not grasp, but it's something we need to really start to consider if we really are invested in the financial futures of not just us and not just our children, but the generations to come behind us.
So listen, one of our viewers said they wish that someone had told them when to start a retirement plan, and they wish someone had told them not to take it out at all. And
Absolutely.
that's an excellent point, right? And the reason why we're having this discussion, because we tend not to think about the future, right?
Right.
We are planning vacations. We're planning our next trips, our girls' trips. We're planning these things, but we are not planning for retirement, when the truth is we're living longer. And so we are living longer in retirement. The honest truth of the matter is that sometimes we're spending 30 and 35 years in retirement. And think about that. That's typically how long we're working. So we have to make sure that we're putting up money for those 30, 35 years that we are not working. And the science shows us that most of us are going to live well into our 90s.
Right.
If we're lucky.
If we're lucky, most of us are going to live. No, if we're lucky, we will have planned for it. That's what it is. If we're lucky, we'll have planned for it. But the science is showing that we are living longer because of the improvements in technology and medical advancements and things like that. We're living longer. So what do you say to our young people, the people that are 28, 27, 28, that haven't started thinking about this, 30, even 40-year-olds? What do you say? What is the number one thing, the first thing that we tell them to do?
Take action now. Stop BSing. They're gonna ban me today, Shalonda. Stop BSing. Get on it.
She's the new Carmen today. She's the new Carmen.
And I think one of our people commented, and she said she wished somebody had told her don't take it out. And so here's the thing: when you start, right? Because I was one of those people. I started at like 23, 24, putting money into the 401ks and all that wherever I was working, right? But I took it out because I needed to buy a house. I had all these things going on. I had responsibilities, right? And so I took it out. But nobody and even though they see the little disclosure when you take it out, as soon as you take out that money, what happens is you lose the value, you lose all that compound interest. And there's a little thing that says, oh, once you take this loan, congratulations, you got this loan. Just FYI, sign here that you know that you're losing all the interest for the next 2 or 3 years or however long you have this loan, right?
Right.
But you wouldn't, for me, I went and got my house. I bought my house at 26, 27. But I bought my house because I started my retirement early. But the thing is that the idea is start the retirement and start a separate account for the house.
Well, see, and I think that's what's important, Saran, is when you meet, to answer Carmen's question, I'm blessed in my line of work. I get to meet with people that are fresh into, workforce at 18, 19 years old. And then I get to meet with people that are, wealth management and are already getting ready to be into their 62, 63, 64, 65s.
Right.
But the point is, if you make sure their financial house is in order, which means tackling every avenue of their finances.
Right.
And it's not a matter of them not having enough money to spread out amongst them all, because you're customizing that financial house, that financial plan for that person's home.
Right.
Which means setting aside a certain percentage of their income for their emergency fund first. Because if that emergency fund is established, when they need to pull money, they won't go to that retirement fund. It's about designating a different space for everything. So,
Right.
first thing is having an emergency fund, right? Making sure that you establish what your goals are so that you know what funds to begin. When you get ready to get into retirement, you really don't want to have any debt. You want to have as minimal amount of debt as possible. So in order to do that, you want to make sure that you have all your credit cards taken care of, all your unsecured debt taken care of. Because if you're going to be on a fixed income, you want that income to just go to necessities.
Right.
Which
and don't forget paying off them student loans.
Right.
Before you go into retirement, which a lot of people are going into retirement with student loans. A whole nother conversation. But you know, I gotta make sure.
Which is what I was gonna say. One of the greatest lies that have been told was that when you retire, you won't have all of these expenses. We got a plan in order not to have those. Amen. Most people are going into retirement with their mortgages, and they're going into retirement with their student loans. Consequently, they still need about 90% of their income in retirement. And
not only are they going into with their student loans, they're going into with their kids' student loans.
Correct.
With the Parent Plus
and
loans.
Guess what? It's just there was a time when we had that three-legged stool to help to take care of retirement, right? We had your pension, we had your Social Security, and then we had savings, right? Now, pensions has all but disappeared, right? Pensions have all but disappeared or been minimalized. And Social Security is not enough. Social Security covers about 40% of what you were making during your when you were working. And so for me, the number one thing that I would say to someone is to start saving now. Save, and make it automatic. And that's the first thing that I would say. And of course, we would have that conversation about making sure that where you save that money, it's actually generating something for you. Because if you're just saving it in your local bank, then you're losing money if you're not getting at least the rate of inflation. Right.
Well, and here's the thing I want to put a pin in. You said something very important. You said Social Security is going to cover about 40% of those expenses, especially if someone's still living off about 90% of their salary, right? But here's the catch. You also will pay tax on your Social Security based depending on how any additional income, retirement income, is coming to you. So if you have Social Security and you're getting income from a pension, from a 401k, any of these other pre-tax tax programs that are considered taxable and considered income, you're going to pay tax on that Social Security. Oh, by the way, it's up to 80% of that
85,
Social Security. 85. Okay, I stand corrected. Up to 85% of that Social Security income is taxable.
Until you're at
in retirement. And so it's important to really think about it, because I know I talk to clients who, like Shalonda said, are in the wealth management phase, 65 plus, and they're trying to figure out how to preserve it. And now they've done a great job of saving. They've done a great job of putting their money in all these different retirement buckets and avenues and savings and 401k and TSP and 457 and all the different fancy 3-letter programs they offer us, right? But all of it's taxable income. And they didn't figure, no one talked to them about putting money in places that may have more tax favored advantages for them in the long run or in the future, where it doesn't count as income. And that's one of the things that these three beautiful ladies, and we'll say 4 because Leah's not here, but she still counts. Hi, healthcare queen, wherever you are. And that's one of the things that we talk about, is really to have, and Carmen mentioned the 3-legged stool, you need 4 legs. I mean, 3 legs is kind of cool, but if you sit on a chair with 3 legs, you still might fall, especially if you're a little, poundy maybe. Who knows? Life is, it deals you different things. But I want a 4-legged stool. I want all the options. I want to be able to make sure frontwards, backwards, sideways, I'm covered in all avenues. Again, because for me, I don't want to be working at 65 or 70 at somebody's retail store just trying to make a couple bucks to do something. And nobody talked about, and we haven't talked about this, we have many people who are in the 60, 65 plus who continue working because they got another 30 years to live. They're like, man, I don't want to sit home for 30 more years. So the thing is that you have to really consider that people are still working full time. And then they're delaying their Social Security, but they still have to start taking what they call the required minimum distribution, or the RMD, by age 70 and a half. And so all those things start coming into play, and it gets complicated, right? And by the way, it gets real complicated at a time in your life when, whether we want to admit it or not, just because of age, our cognitive abilities have changed. I don't care, what you say. Most of us, as we get a little bit older, and I'm nowhere near 70, let's just be clear. I told somebody downstairs at the reception, don't I look 33? But the thing is that as we get older, our cognitive abilities and they change, just because of age, because we're blessed to get older. And some of these things get really confusing and hard to understand. And so that's why it's important for you to start to understand those things now, so that when it comes to you again, you're like, I learned about that when I was a while ago. Just refresh me. So now you have some context to move forward with.
Here's the thing. So I used to work for Social Security. And one of the things that we would get often was that someone would call in when they want to enroll in their Social Security benefits, because honestly, a lot of people are not waiting until age 65. Life happens, and they want, if they're able to start drawing their Social Security at age 62, they do. One of the things we used to instruct them on when I worked with Social Security is how much money they would get now at the time that they're wanting to get their retirement funds versus if they waited. That's something that every time you call into Social Security and you're ready to enroll, that's something that we would cover with you. This is what you will get now. This is what you will get if you wait. And if you wait until age 70, when they're making you take it, you get that 8% increase. So those are the things that we would cover. No matter what the situation was, people would always thank me and say, I just wished I had have better prepared.
Right.
Because I'm not going to say it's never enough, because I have seen where some people have paid into their quarters great and they worked well, and it has been just enough along with the other things that they have. But there are a lot of people, and this is probably going to blow some of our listeners away, but there are a lot of people that don't qualify for Social Security because you haven't worked enough. You have to work. You have
talk about how many quarters they need to have. People need to know this.
So you have to have 40 quarters, and you have to have that over a 10-year consecutive span. So if you work for the first, and there is a rhyme or reason, there is reasoning as to why they have it that way. Right. So let's say you work for 10 years outside of high school, you're 17 years old, you go to work for 10 years and something happens to you and you can no longer work. That's why there's the disability program available to you. If you don't take advantage of disability, what are you doing all of this time? If you don't qualify for disability and you don't have some other form of income, because sometimes they'll tell you, okay, you're not fully disabled, or you're not disabled to the point to where we'll give you some funds, but you can still work. You just got to change the line of work that you're in, right? So it's very important that you find out exactly what is required of you, where you sit with your Social Security. I'm not just going to tell people don't rely on your Social Security, because it is a bucket. It's a bucket of income.
Of course.
Another thing that you want to take into consideration is not only your Social Security, but if you do have an employer funded 401k where they're matching, that's free money. Yes, there is some risk, but if an employer is going to give you free money, you're going to let that compound interest work for you.
There's nothing better than free money.
There's
and by the way, I
free
just want to interject for a second and tell our viewers on Facebook as well as on Clubhouse, just go ahead and drop any questions in there that you have. We're here every Thursday. We are there. This is so much to unpack. I'm telling you, this is so much to unpack.
And so, Carmen, drop them the group email so they can email us with their questions.
Right. So
millionaireladiesmob@gmail.com. You can ask us if you have a question you don't want to ask on live, then drop us an email and one of us will respond with an answer to help you. Because here's the thing, and to Shalonda's point with the 40 quarters, not only do those 40 quarters apply to Social Security, they apply to disability income, like she said. So if you're out here working a whole lot of side hustles and you never did anything on the books, as you say, you're never going to qualify for Social Security.
Absolutely.
And
that's
so
right.
It's important for you to be investing and saving and the other thing. And here's the other thing, and I'm going to get specific. Us women, we have interruptions in our work for a variety of reasons. We go and we have these beautiful babies that we bring into the world, and maybe we stay home for 3 or 4 or 5 years or whatever it is, right? That's an interruption in those quarters. And then maybe we have loved ones, moms, dads, godparents, aunts, uncles, or whatever, who may need us, and we stop working to take care of them because they need us. Another interruption in your quarters, your Social Security quarters and your retirement planning and your income. And so it's important for us to really start being more strategic. And that's why at the top of the call, I said, we need to get to a part of the culture where the parents, where we're thinking, I got 3 kids, how are we going to help them retire too? Because we don't know what life's going to bring, to allow them to have the nest egg that they need, and us a nest egg, which is it's a different perspective,
a different way of thinking.
And especially for us women, we stop working for lots of very important reasons, but they impact us financially way more than it does our male counterparts. And so it's important for us to really, really, really get serious and get aggressive about what we're doing to prepare for our retirements. And we live longer. And so if we're married, then we'll live longer without our husbands after we've already had all this time off from working, and our retirements don't have the same amount as theirs.
I'm hoping that the people on Clubhouse can hear you, because you did not sign in on Clubhouse. So I'm hoping that they can hear those excellent points that you are making. So what I've been hearing is one of the things that you must do is to save early, make it automatic, and make sure that you're saving in the right vehicle to help you accomplish those goals. Another thing that I heard today, Shalonda made that point, was use what is available to you. Look at your employer, see what they have available, especially when they're given free money. There's a statistic that I read earlier today, and I can't remember the exact percentage. I think it's more than 50% of us are able to take part in our employees' 401k savings plan or something like that, and we don't. Now, let me just say something. I have heard people that are in our profession that will tell people, you don't want to put any money into your 401k. Let me tell you something. I do not subscribe to that. Absolutely. I do not. Number one, you want to take advantage of that free money that they are giving you. There's nothing better than free, okay? And then take advantage of that time. The other thing, not everyone is disciplined enough to not put it in their 401k, but to put it into another vehicle. Not everyone is. And because when it's being taken out directly by the employer, it removes that access to that money. So some people need to save in their 401ks, right? Some people really do need to save there, right? So, and although when we are dealing with people that are more disciplined and have some other expectations, yeah, we can show you some other things to do, but take advantage of that 401k. The
Before
other,
we move on, I want to throw in a tip right there on that point
go ahead.
that you made. Even I understand why some people don't feel like they. I had this conversation at my job with another at my previous job with another financial planner. So I understand why some people don't want to put money into the market because they feel that their money, they work hard for their money and they don't want to even take a little bit of the risk. I get it. But what I suggest to those people, if they're giving you a match, right? That some of that free money is eating up some of that risk. And just do the minimal. Put in the minimal amount that is required to get the match because you're kind of making up for some of that risk. And then we can talk to you about some other avenues that you can take on your own to go a little bit further. But I also wanted to mention some of the first steps that we didn't mention in the very beginning. When you do need to determine that you're going to start planning for retirement, one of the first things you need to know is how much money you're going to need in retirement. That's what's most important. And one of the ways to calculate how much money you're going to want to need is up to you. People come to me all the time and they say, well, Miss Shane, how much money do I need to retire? No, baby, that's up to you. How much money do you want to have in retirement? Let's say you want to live comfortable, but you're a very minimal person. Let's say you only need $5,000 a month in retirement. Well, you go and see a professional, speak to a professional, and we have great calculators and tools to where we can plug some numbers in for you and tell you exactly how much money you need to be saving each month. And we can also calculate to show you what avenues, what vehicles you can put that money into and let that compound interest work for you. Exactly. That's the difference. That's the difference between you taking your money and sticking it under your mattress versus you taking that same amount of money that you were going to stick under the mattress or in the safe or behind the picture frame or yeah, these are all some places that
not the picture frame.
Yes, behind the picture frame, like
in the freezer.
Like,
you know what? I have a friend that talked about one of her relatives passed. She had pinned money to the curtains and all throughout the house and all over the place. There was just money everywhere.
Wow.
People do that. That's where I got that from. People literally do that. But taking that money and putting it somewhere else so that you can make that interest work for you. And we have great tips to show you the best way to watch that money accelerate. But you want to make sure that you know how much money you need in retirement.
So that was the second point, right? The save. The second thing is to know your retirement needs.
Your retirement needs. Your wants versus your needs.
I want to go back to something that Saran said earlier when she said planning not only for your retirement, but for your children's retirement. Let me explain something there. That is what we're talking about when we're talking about generational wealth. Because not only do we plan, and if we start now with this, our generation, not only are we planning for our children's retirement, but we also teach them what to do so that they help to plan for the next generation and the next generation. And then once we pass like 3 generations, we can really start talking generational wealth. Absolutely. We have to pass down this generational education as well, right?
But so you're referring to LERPs there, the life insurance retirement plan.
Yes. I like how you throw the LERP in there. It's so many different things. And it's funny because when you talk to people, they want to hear something different. Here's the thing. I use this example. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday. If you need a ride somewhere and you just need to get there, you're just trying to get to a destination, you're trying to get to a goal. Do you care what that ride is called when it shows up, as long as it's safe and it's clean?
I like that.
Like, do you care that it's a Honda, which there's nothing wrong with a Honda? I think they're super cool. I own one for years. You care that it's an Acura, a Lexus, a Porsche, a Lamborghini? The thing is that each one of those vehicles are going to give you different benefits. And that's how our financial vehicles work. When you start talking about the different financial vehicles in retirement, there's so many different vehicles, and they're all going to give you different benefits, but they're all going to get you to the financial goal you want. The thing is it going to get you exactly what you want, or is going to get you some of what you want, or a piece of it, or an idea? And so you really want to have a mixture of financial vehicles. Going back to that stool, let's not stop playing around with the 3-legged stool. Let's just create a whole table, a whole dining room table. Let's, with chairs around it. We have more stools. But the thing is to be strategic and to be thoughtful about how to do it. And by the way, Carmen, I can't get myself off of mute on Clubhouse, so if you can't hear me,
well, they can hear through mine. I'm on.
They can hear you.
But the thing is to really, really think about it. And it goes back to, we talked about this on live maybe the first week. Take the time to talk to a professional. Talk to people who are talking to a pool of people. Shalonda's talking to hundreds of people. Carmen's talking to hundreds of people. I'm talking to hundreds of people. Aaliyah's talking to hundreds of people as clients. We have more reference on how to do this than maybe the person you're only handling your finances, right? So we'll have examples and we'll have things to be able to help you to move forward. And that really is the important thing. And we talked about this on the live too. Each one of us talked to someone else about our finances, because we need someone outside of ourselves to help us, see things a little bit differently. And I laugh, but I shared this, I think, on my Instagram at one point. My physical trainer has a trainer. She's a bodybuilder, but she helps hundreds of people do bodybuilding. But guess what? When she wants to compete, she goes to her own trainer, somebody who's going to train her. So why do we think that we're the do-it-yourself, the at-home, pull ourselves up by a bootstrap generation? Get some help.
Well, Saran, your doctor, I'm sure your doctor has a doctor.
I
can't imagine your doctor diagnose. Well, some of the doctors probably do diagnose themselves, but
right. But they still got to go to a doctor.
They still got to go to the doctor,
because they're not specialized in everything. So that's one of the reasons why. And let me go back. Let me rewind. When Saran said, "What do you care how you get there?" What do you care what the vehicle is? Let me just tell you, I had a friend that passed away this past December. Prior to her passing, now she was one person that said, "I don't believe in life insurance." Okay. However, she had a grandson, and I was talking to her about what she actually could do for her grandchild.
Right.
And she was so hung up. I don't want to put life insurance on him, right? And I explained to her, okay, this is what, you're going to put away. The kid was young, so she was going to do like $100 a month for this kid. And I was able to show her at $100 a month, when that kid turned 18, how much money he would have in there, how he can use that money to help to supplement college without getting into further debt, how he can still access his scholarships, how he can still access any help or grants from the government.
You need to back up there. No, that's what people miss out on.
Yes.
What you just said is so important. They think that will mess up their financial aid.
Right. But because it's a private contract,
absolutely,
you are able to participate with all. By the way, the wealthy people are the ones who take advantage of this. Meanwhile, we're paying for it. So I was explaining to her, I said, somebody's got a feedback. We've got a
not me.
Feedback here. I don't know. But so I explained to her what this can do, right? So then I told her what else can happen if that child became disabled. And we talked about other things. She was like, well, I really want that. And I said, well, what do you care if it was called life insurance? we need to look at the benefits, not the vehicle, not what it's called. Stop getting tied up in what it's called, right? But this, I want somebody to get a little bit more into LERPs. I heard both of you, and I have people on the both Facebook and Clubhouse, and they don't know what the hell you mean by LERP.
So let me explain what a LERP is.
Talking a little bit about LERP.
Yeah. So, and I want to mention, it looks like we have a lot more viewers now logging in on Facebook. So I just want to welcome you to Thursday's edition of the Millionaire Ladies Mob, where you have Saran Baker, Shalonda Kaiser Mitchell, Carmen Bernard, and our Leah is not.
She's trying to get on. Aaliyah's trying to join us.
Oh, well, Aaliyah will be with us shortly, but we are advocates for helping you to grow, save, and flourish. With
multiply them dollars,
multiply them coins. We want to see you in a good light with your money.
I like them to know. We show you how not only you earn, not only you spend, not only you grow and save, all at the same damn time.
She said it. She's the one that keeps us in trouble. So she said it. But anyways, tonight we are talking about retirement plans. And if you tuned in a little late, that's okay, because you can watch this baby on replay. Just make sure you put in the comments #replay so that we can reach out to you and answer any questions that you may have. If you feel the need to ask us questions and you don't want to do it in the chat environment, that's quite all right. We have a fiduciary responsibility to keep our confidentiality with you. So you can reach out to us at millionaireladiesmob@gmail.com. You can go to us on Facebook on our page or our group, Instagram. Where else are we? YouTube. But what I'm saying is we're accessible to you because
it's so funny because my niece is on Clubhouse. I'm seeing her. And the thing is, I just created that today and put it out there. So we haven't had an opportunity to like get get it growing and going. But
we put it out there and the people will come. So they will come.
And I'm hoping that she's going to join in. Oh, welcome, Tiara, to our conversation tonight here on Clubhouse, YouTube, Facebook. We are talking about Ramen or riches in retirement. And basically, we are not trying to hurt anyone's feelings when it comes to ramen or ramen, whatever you call it.
I was going to say, what is ramen?
Ramen.
Is that somebody you dated in high school, Ramen?
Let me tell you. I don't want to eat it because I saw where you can use it to like create a toilet, and you can use it to it does all these different things. I don't know. I saw it on TikTok or Facebook or something.
Well, then it must be right if you saw it on TikTok or Facebook.
I know, right? There's anything that's wrong on TikTok. But listen, I'm telling you, I saw that thing and I'm like, wait, if you can do this, what is it doing to your body? But guess what?
The same thing. It's doing the same thing Coca-Cola is doing to your body.
I don't drink Coca-Cola either. I don't drink Coca-Cola either, but I agree. Kids, like how they take Coca-Cola to clean the bathroom. Imagine what's doing to you. All right, that's a different story for a different.
Okay, so let's go back to the LERP, the life insurance retirement.
I want to talk about
let's just bring the conversation back to why we're here. Ramen or riches in retirement.
Ramen or riches in retirement. Just understand that we're saying that we want to make sure you have the option. If you want to eat ramen, you can. But if you don't want to have to eat ramen, and that's it. Here we go.
So a LERP is a life insurance retirement plan, right? A LERP is where we can take a life insurance policy and structure it so that you have a tax advantage to where after 59 and a half, depending on how much you contribute, you're going to have the maximum amount of benefit set aside for you. Now, the key to a LERP is to use it specifically for a retirement plan and not to touch it. You can borrow from it, but then it's not really working towards its advantages to give you what you need. Now, the great thing about funding this life insurance plan is that you're going to overfund it. It's basically what you're doing. So you're overfunding your life insurance premiums so that you're using the compound interest to work towards your favor. And the things that you can do with LERPs and adding some riders on there, which we can get into as well, really maximizes your potential. Now, what I like the most about a LERP is when the stock market is down. So let's say that you have an IRA, or let's say that you have a 401k, or you just have some stock options out there and the market is not doing very well. And you're, in retirement. Now, if you had a LERP, you can tap into your LERP and use some of the funds there instead of tapping into your vehicle that you have attached to your investments and not miss out.
Right.
It's like the best kept secret, right? Best kept secret. So
best kept secret. And it's not really a secret.
That life insurance. And it sounds bad, overfunding a life insurance policy, right? But it's so good. It's one of those smooth vehicles.
Hey, I want to welcome Aaliyah to our conversation. The healthcare queen has joined us. She's traveling in New Orleans or somewhere. But listen, Aaliyah, I'm gonna give you a chance to jump in and introduce yourself. But listen, what you just said about it sounds bad, overfunding. Listen, people, we got to do a couple of things. We have to learn. We got to learn to unlearn. We got to learn to relearn. I'm telling you right now, we have to think differently. We have to think like the others do that are wealthy. And those are thinking outside of the box, thinking about different ways. When she says overfunding a life insurance policy, it basically means saving your money or parking your money inside of a life insurance policy. Why does that make sense? You get more return for your money.
Oh, I found it.
Not exposed to any risk.
Well, maybe I shouldn't say overfunding, Carmen. Maybe I should have said the definition of overfunding just means that you're paying more of your life insurance premium than is required.
And why would you want to do that, though? Why would you want to do that?
Why would you want to pay more of your premium than is required?
Yeah, I don't want
extra. So that the extra money that you're paying in your premium goes to increase your cash value. Versus going to that gives you more money to access. So that makes the value of your policy, the actual cash portion in your policy, it increases that amount.
Why can't I just keep my money and save it in a bank?
Well, because if you put your money into your savings account, for instance, I have Navy Federal, and the interest rate with my Navy Federal is like 0.25%. But if I put it into a LERP, not to put any money out there or any business out there, but right now I have a LERP that's functioning and I think it's like at a 6.97 right now.
I would want 6 point whatever as opposed to 0.25. I would.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You know what?
And see, I think mine and Shalonda, I think mine is at like 4 and some change based on when I signed the contract. And the thing is that it's still outperforming a regular savings account.
That's
and
right.
So the thing is that, and to be very specific, we're talking about a different financial vehicle. And this is somewhere where you're putting your money that's secure, where you're going to get compound interest. And we'll have a whole conversation on compound interest at some point in the future on one of our lives. But the compound interest is you're either earning compound interest or you're paying compound interest. And so we have to figure out, and the thing is that if you have $100,000 in your regular credit union savings account, and I'm not saying that to say that there aren't people, because there are people like that, because of the hundreds of people that I've talked to. I have people that I can say, clients, I know that have $100,000 in their savings account, in their regular bank savings account, because
I'm so sorry. Let me help you move that.
Right. And that's the conversation. Well, let's get you a better interest rate than 0.25% on that money. And the thing is,
I really wanted to get down to the nitty gritty. That's why, because those are the questions that people have.
Right.
Well, would I give you my money when I could keep my money myself?
Well, you're not giving me anything, right? You're not giving it to Saran Tanae Baker
Are you
or
sure?
Carmen K. Bernard or Shalonda Kaiser Mitchell or Leah Sherrod. We're putting it in a financial vehicle that will allow you to use your money more than one time in 3 or 4 different ways. And oh, by the way, the interest rates that are available to you in this vehicle are outperforming regular savings accounts and CDs, on a regular basis. You still have access to it over whatever time period you will. And oh, here's the thing. It's not like using the other retirement vehicles, because you're not locking your money in until you're 59 and a half and you can't ever touch it. You're putting it in here so that it's there. And if you need to use it, you go grab a few dollars from it, do whatever you need to do, and you can put it back in or not. But guess what? You never lose 1 penny of compound interest, because they're still going to pay you the compound interest on whatever the principal balance is that you had in when you established the account. That is a huge difference.
Talking.
But the best part of that.
Explain that again.
Now y'all are talking. I wanted you to get down and dirty and explain to these people the real deal. That's what I want. That's the reason why I'm asking these questions.
All right, well, let me get dirty with it, girl.
Yes.
Don't miss the fact that if you do decide to borrow that money, Saran, guess what? It's still growing.
This is what we're talking about.
Listen.
While you borrow it, it still grows.
Listen, Shalonda, go ahead and talk dirty to me, girl.
Let's talk about
money. Because here's the thing. Today. The example that hold on, Carmen. The example that one of our viewers made in the comments, she said, I wish they would have told me never to borrow from my 401k when I set it up. And I shared with you that I borrowed from mine when I was 26, 27 to get my house. And I explained that you lose the compound interest. The difference is with the LERP is you can borrow the money from the insurance company, because you're not borrowing your money. Let's be very clear. You're borrowing the insurance company's money with no terms. They just give it to you because they have collateral, and they're going to give it to you. You pay it back at your own pace. So however you decide you want to pay it back or not pay it back. And
what happens if you don't pay it back?
Still gaining interest.
But what happens if you don't pay it back?
What happens if you don't pay it back? Nothing. They don't come looking for you. They're not calling you. Now,
well, it'll subtract from your debt.
Let me be very clear, because it's a life insurance policy. I'm gonna talk straight. When you die, because here's the thing, if you born, you're gonna die. When you die, if you have an outstanding loan, they'll say, oh, Shalonda still owes $5,000. We'll just take $5,000 off of her $1 million policy and pay the rest to her benefit.
Right.
Listen,
we'll take $5,000 off of her $500,000 policy and pay the rest to her beneficiaries. Nothing lost, because guess what? Most of the people that you may have designated as beneficiaries don't even know, and they're not expecting that large sum of money. And so the thing is these are the advantageous ways. When we say use your money more than one time, because you use life insurance as the vehicle. You have life insurance, you have terminal, chronic, critical injury coverage. You have access to cash that you can use as you see fit. You can plan it for retirement,
emergency,
you can plan it for college, you can plan it for traveling the world. Listen, whatever it is you want to do.
But it is important to say that this is a permanent policy.
It is not. You can't do that with permanent policy. It's not a term policy, but you can do those things. We have people, and I have people that I work with that use it more strategically. They're business owners. They dump money in, and then if the real estate agents that I work with, they use it for hard money. When they don't want to borrow from someone else, they have it in their policy. They go get whatever they need. They pay a guaranteed interest rate. They're not paying double-digit interest on it. Do whatever flip or deal that they're doing, and then they dump the amount they borrowed out back in, so they have it available for the next deal, and then they keep going. And so here's the deal: it's so much greater than just a retirement. But the thing is that we think that, and I'm gonna say we, meaning not the four of us, but we, the viewers. We think that putting $50 every 2 weeks into our 401k or $100 every 2 weeks into our 401k is going to get it in retirement. You're going to live 30 or 40 years after retirement. If you work 30 years and you make $100,000 a year, you will have made $3 million. You need $3 million to retire if you're going to plan to live for 30 years. and you telling me $50 or even $500, it's still not enough to get you to $3 million when you're making $100,000 a year. So we gotta work smarter, right? And that's the other piece. And I know we're right at 9:30, but we're at 9:28. But the other thing is to consider this, and this is not to make anybody feel bad, but we have to consider that working full time may not be enough to get us to our financial goals. We may need to consider